before retreating. Nada trying to do some counter with a vulture raid and a drop from the shuttle, and Backho critically didn't block, and Nada's able to drop a couple of siege stacks down. One siege stack looks like he's going to now get second down. Backho is going to come in with a shuttle. I'm not sure what's in that, whether or not he's got zealots in, but he has got High Templar in, so he's just going to storm those 2 tanks and end this attack from Nada's right here. The siege tanks seem to have survived, but the zealots should finish them off. Nada pulling, and another storm going off, and Nada, even though he managed to kill off most of Backho's forces in that expansion, Backho's going to be able to reinforce it before Nada can really do any damage, and that was really Nada's last throw of Nada's dice. But I have to say, Nada careless there. He really should have had more spider mines in front of those siege tanks. Unfortunately for him, he didn't, because if he had, he would have been able to stop Backho from getting those Templar in place to get those storms off. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do that. Backho just clearing up that last remaining vulture in his expo at the 1 o'clock position, and Nada looks like he at least Backho doesn't have as free reign of the map, since he did sacrifice a significant portion of his troops in that attack at the 6 o'clock expansion to kill that off. But the key thing is that he did kill that expansion off, and Backho, very agile, very aware to all the vulture mines, spider mines in the middle of the map, not allowing his troops to get caught off, and he really has been playing some excellent StarCraft against Nada, and Backho is not a player that I would have considered capable of doing that. Nada desperately trying to get some sort of damage on Backho's economy, but Backho is just overrunning him at this point, and it's only a matter of time before this game closes out, and a dismal performance by Nada. But he is Solid Snake, he is the veteran. I fully expect him to try and bounce back and return at some stage and show the kind of form that he showed that allowed him to win that golden mouse up. Platinum mouse still up for grabs, and I think Nada is probably a hot favorite to deliver that. Not on this form though. He really needs to get some practice in. He really needs to get his timing up, and maybe the reflexes just aren't what they used to be anymore. But let's hope. And Nada's finally managed to get that 6 o'clock expansion. Meanwhile, Backho has virtually covered the entire map with expansions. I know that's a slight exaggeration, but nevertheless, Nada managed to buy himself a little bit of time, but Backho's rebuilt that massive force that he had while his economy continues to massive up, and Nada doesn't have nearly as many forces in defense this time around. He managed to get those siege tanks in that mineral line, but Backho once again closing the distance quite rapidly, getting the storms off as well. The Dragoons coming in, more zealots pouring in. Backho's just got so much to arrive in terms of reinforcement, but looks like Nada's defense is going to hold this time, because he managed to get his siege tanks in the right position, and Backho actually making his primal assault at Nada's off expo as opposed to the 6 o'clock expo, and maybe Nada has just bought himself a ray of hope in this game. He managed to get that scout off. He managed to see which direction Backho was coming in and got his forces concentrated just in the right position, and that is the advantage of being the aggressor, is that Backho really should have had the advantage of being the aggressor, because you can force your opponent to put their defenses in one place and attack in another, but Nada managed to pull his defenses back from the 6 o'clock expo where he initially had them to the off expo, and get his defense up and running in time just north of his secondary. Backho though continues to, with his massive economy and macro, pump out these number of units. I'm just not sure how much longer Nada can keep up with this. Nada obviously getting that science vessel to try and get that EMP off against those arbiters, which will be coming into play for Backho, and Nada really, I think, mined out at his main. He has at least managed to get that 6 o'clock expansion up and running and has it defended, and Backho is in a comfortable. He's got 3 arbiters now. They're going to be full of energy as well. So it's just a matter of time before we're going to see some stasis fields coming in, and that might be what it would take for Backho to close this game out. Desperate Korean fan, probably a Nada fan, not looking very pleased, realizing that it's about to be curtains for the Terran Master. Unfortunately for Nada, he now makes that push out. I just don't think he's got what it takes in the tank to be able to win this. If he can land a fortuitous MP, if he can emp those arbiters before they can get the stasis field off, maybe he has a hope, but I don't know if that science vessel is going to get there in time. Backho is now pushing in with the arbiters. Nada has got that turret. He's slowed down his opponent a little bit. He's got the EMP off. I think the EMP went off there, and Backho pushed back. Great play by Nada, managed to get the EMP off. I think he caught all 3 of those arbiters with that EMP, and he's just bought himself a little bit more time in the game. That still, though, leaves Nada with the problem of Backho having at least two or three expansions more than him. He's got that 1 o'clock expansion. He's also got 3 o'clock expansion up and running, and he's got complete control of the map as well as a superior force on the ground. But Nada with a great maneuver, that EMP coming just in the nick of time, another EMP to catch the 4th arbiter, but this time Backho clever. He's used the first arbiter to absorb the EMP. Nada getting another EMP off, not in time. The recall happens, 2 recalls, And this is it for Nara. This is curtains. He's got a GG here. 2 recalls in Nara's main. The supply depots are going to go down. Nara's going to be forced to bring his siege tanks all the way back, and by the time that happens, he's going to have lost a lot of buildings. And Backho with another Arbiter, this time taking out the science vessel in the field. Nara managed to get his siege tanks back in, but they've been slowed down significantly, and he's lost a lot of his tech buildings, losing the dropship as well, losing the starport, so no more science vessels will be coming out for Nara. Backho meanwhile putting some pressure on Nara's front door as well, and Nara is going to be halted in his production as well because he's lost almost all of his supply depots. Because of the structure of his base, he hasn't been unfortunately able to get in there, and really that's what the recall does to you. And just Nara just basically outnumbered. His opponent had too many arbiters. Nara just didn't have enough science vessels in enough places in time to be able to combat that. Nara trying to retake his base, and he's struggling to even do that with all of his forces. That those 2 recalls enough for Backho to really hold on. Nara managed to get a siege tank in siege mode, and Backho is just going to pull out of range. And looks like Nara has managed to kill the Arbiter, but those Dragoons are out of range of the siege tank, picking off the Goliath. Nara getting a couple other Dragoons in, but now he's coming under fire, and he's got literally nothing to defend these siege tanks. He's just got 3 siege tanks out of the field in the middle, trying to get some defense up, trying to get a turret up. It's going to be too late. He's just defending with siege tanks against Zealots. That's not a great defense, because he's going to be losing a lot of his forces as a result. And Nara just fighting a beggar's war here, unfortunately. He's fighting Backho's Arbiters, and it's almost like he's fighting Arbiters and Dragoons with drones. If he was a Zerg player, that's how debilitated Nara's forces are. It's literally sword versus laser time, or sword versus nuclear weapon time for Nara, unfortunately, in this game. And he's obviously not wanting to give up, because he is going to be going out of the World Cyber Games qualifiers for this season, for this year. But there's nothing he can do about it. He's tried his best. It wasn't good enough. Backho really played quite well, and he'll be an exciting prospect for Protoss fans next season. Although I personally haven't been a huge fan of him. Backho once again getting in the drop. Again, Nara so sluggish. Those SCVs just sit there waiting to die. And at this point, I think Nara's resistance has been broken. His back has been broken by Backho. So Backho with a comfortable victory, really never looked second best throughout the series, winning both games with a clear margin. And those storms have just been spectacular. Backho, I don't know if it's been Nara, I don't know if it's the fact that Nara has been poor in maneuvering his units, not pulling his SCVs off the line, allowing those Templar to get in positions, but Backho's storms have just been perfect. They've just been perfect storms, and they've just enveloped Nara's base and units in a sea of sparkling thunder, in good old 2D StarCraft, which to me trumps any of the 3D RTS games that have come out since. Let's hope StarCraft 2, though, will be an improvement. But, yeah, good old 2D Storms wiping the floor with Nara's forces. Nara still refusing to GG. He's going to fight to the last building. He does tend to do that, but Backho doesn't look to be interested in humiliating him. He has enough respect for Nara, I think. Nara, with a last-ditch push at Backho's National Expo, where there are no probes left anyway and no resources, I guess Nara felt that if he could maybe hurt Backho's tech, that would make a difference. But Backho's got his Stargates up. It looks like he's got 3 Stargates up at the 12 o'clock base, just pumping Arbiters, and Backho is just able to use that massive economy to just macro up, and Nara GG's. GG, guys, this is Klazar. Thanks for listening. Disappointing for Nara fans like me, but well played by the Protoss player, and more hope for Protoss fans next season.
자신의 이미지, 손차롱이라는 그런 이미지를 확실히